Welcome back. Our guest today is a local therapist and owner of JRNY Counseling, Holly Homan. Welcome to the Scuttlebutt Club.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're so glad to have you here. It is May. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're super excited. But can you tell us a little more about what that means? And like having this conversation with you is like a good starting point for a lot of people to hear everything they need to know.
Sure. I mean, I think by the end of May, everyone is just kind of zoned out about Mental Health Awareness Month because it's just at us, social media. And it was established in 1949, which a lot of people don't know. And I think it's interesting to me to kind of think about, like, where were we in 1949 that we just made up this, like, month? Right. And every month is some month. Right. It's like suicide prevention, recovery awareness, small business owners. And so I do think that the noise of it kind of get oversaturated and we do miss the meaning of it. So thank you for asking. I think the important thing to think about now versus where we were in 1949 is that we have a conversation where it's okay to talk about mental health. And we're all very proud of that. And I'm, of course, proud of that. What I want it to look like in the future is that we are actually doing something about mental health. Like we actually have permission to do something. So I watched this video and it was pretty disturbing to me. The instructor on the video asked everyone if they knew someone who'd been sexually assaulted or they had been sexually assaulted to stand up. So you can imagine that probably 80% of the class stood up. We know this. We know that it's rampant. We know mental health is rampant. And then the professor said, please keep standing if you know someone that was able to get the help for that afterwards. 2 people were left standing. And so that's what I really want to talk about Mental Health Awareness Month is like, yes, we know, but can we keep those people standing and say, yes, we're actually doing something about this?
Yeah, I do feel like that's a big stigma around it where it's like, it affects everyone. If you have a brain, mental, you know what I mean? It's like everyone deals with that. And I think when I hear about it, there's so many people that have gym memberships and they take care of their physical body, but they're not taking care of their mental body. And I hate that stigma around it. Like, what do you say to people that have that like block of that? We don't want to do therapy or we don't want to seek help for this because what others might think.
Yeah. Well, for one, no one has to know that you're coming to therapy. Like that's a choice that you do all by yourself. And we make choices like that all the time.
Yeah.
Like we just literally do. And then the other thing that I always want to talk to people about is like they say, I don't need it. I can handle it. Okay. So let's play a little game. What's something that irritated you in the last couple of days that you like can't let go? Like you're mad at yourself about it.
Oh no, you're interviewing us now. Okay, wait, hold on, let me think. You go first.
The mess on the counter that Kyle left.
Yeah. Little like messes that my family makes that they don't clean up that it feels like it's like put on me.
Okay. And why do you feel like it's put on you if it's left out?
Because no one else will do it unless I do it.
Okay, unless I do it. And when did that rule start for you?
I don't know. Forever.
Are we the problem?
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
From the beginning of time.
Yeah. And so is that a rule that you can break up with?
Yes. Maybe. I don't know. Help me.
That's exactly what we do in therapy. Yeah. Right? So it's like what happens to people is that we're put in a situation. We don't like that situation. We make a rule about that situation so that in order to not have that happen again. So I show up in places that I'm not supposed to be because I'm directionally challenged. Lots of people do this. What happens to me is that I have a lot of shame and I feel really bad about myself that I was like in the wrong place.
Right.
So I made that rule up when I was younger, when I had some consequence for not being in the right place when I was supposed to. So my brain says, we're not doing that again, Holly, you're not doing that. And if I do that, then it sends me all these negative feelings. And then I have to decide, like, are those negative feelings still true? Or can I have a new rule about that? And you have to practice over time about identifying what your rules are and then asking yourself, do you want a different rule that feels better for you?
I love that.
Yeah.
Again, it's like training.
Yeah, and boundaries, it sounds like.
I love that you bring up boundaries. Because one of the most popular things that people think about boundaries is that I don't like a behavior that someone else is doing. So I'm going to say, hey, I need you to stop doing this because it's bothering me. And then when they do it again, we're upset. So a boundary is not for someone else, although that's how our society talks about it. Mm-hmm. The boundary is a promise that you make to yourself. I don't like this feeling. If it happens again, this is what I will do for myself. So a boundary is really a sacred promise that you make to yourself, and you are in charge of whether you actually keep that boundary or not.
Yeah. I do think a lot of people see that as like confrontation and shy away from it, and so it never gets beyond that point. But I think you need to be like, make yourself a little bit uncomfortable to then reap the benefits of the change. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because I do think a lot of people, especially women, shy away from the confrontation. But it's like, if you don't address that little thing, it's going to be really big later.
That's true. And we don't create the space in our life to step back and be like, what actually can I do about this?
Right. And like for me, I think it's like, okay, I'll just take the 5 seconds it is to throw this trash away. But
because
then,
it's easier for you.
Right. In the moment. Mm-hmm. But in the long run, we're not learning or teaching anything to whoever is doing that. Right. It's almost enabling. You're hurting yourself. So yes, maybe be a little uncomfortable to then see the change.
I don't know if you sent it to me or I just like randomly saw this video on TikTok, but it was this mom who said what's like killing her is this mental load, and it's all these little piles around her house, and it was
Doom's
like,
piles.
But they were like the pile she grabbed or showed was like a rechargeable light bulb, a chip clip, a pen, and like something her kid got at a birthday party, like a little trinket. And she's like, let me tell you why this is killing me. I have to decide, and I'm the only one that can decide where all these are going to go. I want to put them in the trash, but this is like a perfectly good marker. So do I go sort this by color and put it with all my kids' markers? Or like the rechargeable light bulb, like should I put this with the other light bulbs? Or I think there's a charger that goes with it, but I don't know where that is.
Exactly.
And she was just like, these little things are killing my mental load and decision fatigue.
Absolutely.
She's like, this sounds stupid saying it out loud, but
I think that's something we all deal with.
It really is. And I think that's what I'm talking about. Like, we have awareness to talk about that and share it. Mm-hmm. But then there's no next step.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So therapy is about creating a space for you to identify what bothers you. And then you have time and space and encouragement and nurturing and safety to really address, like, okay, what is it that I can do?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to turn my children into caring about the house as much as I do.
Right.
I won't. But what can I tell myself about those decisions? Mm-hmm. I will say that I like to think about women in general as the chief engagement officer of the family.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is engagement is that we are usually the ones that engage our family with the community, doctor's appointments, school, all those things, soccer, all the things that we manage. But we are also the engagement officer of what happens internally. So how are relationships looked? How do you talk to each other? What is expected from mom and dad? And so that load, that mental load, is exhausting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there can be co-CEOs in the house. But even when you own a business, you know that one CEO is like 55-45. Like, it's never 50-50. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that does lead to a lot of decision fatigue, like you said. And so then we don't want to make another decision about how to find a therapist or who to call. Like, we just don't. It's not on. It's like at the very end of the list.
Right.
And then we just never get to it.
Yeah, because I do think as moms, we put ourselves last.
Mm-hmm. How would someone know, like, if they're listening to this and they're like, oh man, like, I could use help with that? Like, how does someone know if they, like, need therapy or could benefit from talking to someone? Or do you just think everybody could?
I mean, I think that everyone can. I mean, I don't think that therapy can be harmful or set you back.
Yeah.
I think that we wait until it's like crisis mode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or like a rock bottom.
Like, are you having suicidal thoughts? Call this hotline. I'm like, that's too late.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not too late ever to reach out for help for suicide. But if we're talking about deciding whether you need therapy,
Yeah.
ask yourself some questions. Have the coping skills and tools that I have been using for however long still working for me? And we'll say yes, because I'm managing all the balls. How happy are you, though?
Right.
How much stress do you have? How alone do you feel?
Yeah.
Those are enough to ask for help.
Right.
If someone wanted to come to you for help for therapy, can they just call your office, or do you have to have like a referral from a doctor, or how does that work?
That's a great question. A lot of times there will be a referral. We're a private practice and we don't take insurance.
Okay.
And that gives us a lot of freedom that other big organizations don't have. So you can call us, email us, text us to the front line. Lauren is one of our therapists. She answers our phone. So the first point of contact is therapeutic.
Okay. That's good.
I love that.
And what we have tried to do at JRNY, my job there is, of course, to see people because I love that. But when I hired the staff that works there, I was like, I need to take care of the therapists like the first, so that they can do and engage with people in the way that they love, right? There's a lot of back end like paperwork and stress and productivity that a lot of therapists struggle with in bigger practices. So when I was talking to my staff, I was like, what hours do you want to work? Who do you want to see? Like, who's your ideal client? And they had to spend a lot of time about that because no one really ever asked us that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, here's the next person that I got assigned to you.
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh, okay. Right? I mean, that's literally how it is.
That's actually a question we had. Like,
Yeah.
if the staff that work for you, if they had different specialties or passions.
Like kids or
Absolutely.
certain mental health specific disorders or stuff like that.
Yeah, we all do.
Okay.
And we are known very well for being experts in substance abuse. So getting people into treatment, helping the family while they're in treatment, helping family when they come home, helping you when you come home from treatment. I don't think a lot of people understand that we are also experts in mental health, because a lot of substance abuse issues are comorbid with them. And we don't always want to work with that population. We want to work with everyone that wants to come in to see us. So on the website, we have little videos of all of us so you can see our personalities.
Well, I think that's a block too, where people are like, well, I don't know what the person's like. And it's nice to have that as like, okay, kind of like feel out the vibe of who you're going to see.
Absolutely. And we do make lots of judgments based on like pictures, personality. I mean, we just do.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to be very open and provide a lot of information. That way, when you call in, you can say, hey, I would specifically like to see Scott. And Lauren's like, okay, well, he works in the evenings. And they're like, okay, that doesn't work. Or you can see Justin, he works in the day. So before you even sit down on our couch, you know that we love working with you and whatever you're working with, and you have chosen us. And so trust starts immediately.
If they do a session with a specific therapist and they just don't gel, can they switch?
Oh my God.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
I think
people get like that too. Like, they get stuck on that. I don't want to pick this person because what if we don't mesh? And it's like, it's okay to pick somebody else.
Oh my God, fire us immediately.
I know, but
I mean, seriously.
I think that leads back to the confrontation of like, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, can.
You can. And listen, the most important thing in a therapeutic alliance is that if you like me and if you feel like I hear you and understand you, if you don't feel that way about me, I'm not your therapist.
And that's okay.
And that is the number one thing. It's not just okay. It's like criteria.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of people do this, right? A lot of people will say, okay, we're like at the end of the session, do you want to come back? And they'll say yes. And then we schedule them. And then they cancel. Because later they're like, Or in the moment, they don't want to be like, no, I don't
to your
like you.
face. Right.
And that's fine.
Okay.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
The first meeting with us is always you interviewing me.
Nice.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because that's the goal. Like, you're in charge in therapy. And it starts right then.
I love that. Okay. So we already talked about your referral thing. So they can get a referral from their like general practice. Like, who would that come from? Just any of their doctors that see if a fit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to have any paperwork. It's
right, okay.
You know, you have a hair girl, a nail girl, like Holly's my therapy
Yes.
girl. Like, go see her.
Add her to the roster.
Yeah. I mean, really.
Yeah.
And so anybody, anywhere
But you
can
don't have
refer
to
to
have
us.
a referral
We don't have to
either,
have
right?
anything at all.
Okay, so let's just say I want a book. What would be the process of that looking like with you?
Well, you would call the front number or email.
Okay.
Yeah,
because some people don't even want to call. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we can do all the correspondence through an email. Once you are connected to your therapist, we always then communicate through texting unless it's like a big deal and you want
that's
to talk on the
nice.
phone.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's like, oh, Holly, I have like this conflict that came up because I forgot about this school trip because I'm like a normal mom. Can we move it? And I'll be like, sure, what day?
Okay.
And so it becomes very informal in that
I
way
like that.
once you get
Nice.
in there.
Okay. You want to ask about the coalition of sorts?
Yes, we heard that you were coming up with like a coalition of sorts for people going through divorce or considering divorce. Can you tell us more about that? Because I got really excited when I heard that, not because I'm considering, but I think there's a huge need because we're always on like the mom Facebook groups and all that. And I swear every other day someone asks for advice, a lawyer, a referral for something. So I know that there's like a big need for that.
Yeah, I mean, divorce happens. And we don't really have a good system that like provides a lot of support.
Yeah. Or like,
You know,
what do I do? What's
Yeah, what are
where
the
do I-
steps?
Yes, exactly.
How am I going to manage this? Where am I going to live?
It's very overwhelming.
Yeah, and we stay
On top of the
Yes.
divorce. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, and we stay in what's comfortable versus
Yeah.
exploring what's not comfortable. Because again, let's add just a whole new level of decisions that I'm already terrified about.
Right.
And it's a loss of the life that I thought I was going to have. And so I don't want to do anything about that. Grief and loss is very heavy. And so I know a lot of wonderful women in the community. I've been on the WIN Leadership Committee for 2 years, and that's Women in Noblesville. And we meet monthly. And in that group, I met a couple people that are aware of this, and they offer services about this, and I can include them in the links.
Oh, nice.
And so I picked some of the ladies that I thought, I was like, these people will be able to get stuff done. And so we created the Fresh Start Initiative Coalition. And what we're going to do is we're going to have one Saturday retreat a quarter, and we're going to have it in different locations in the greater Indianapolis area. So the first one is at Dulles Farm, and that's like a little bit farther north. But we'll have one in Noblesville, we'll have one then on Castleton, and then we might go out east, just depending. But it is really a retreat kind of setting because we want to take care of you, nurture and pamper you, because you have to come to this awful thing and talk about these awful things. And you can bring a friend for support. And what it's really going to be about is what are your financial worries? And here are some concrete steps to think about, like, what is it that your budget will need to be? And here are some financial advisors that we trust that you can work with. And then we're also going to talk about children. How does this impact the children? How to talk about this with the children, how to be co-parents. Because one of the other reasons that we stay in a marriage is for the children.
yeah.
And
What does that look like when they're gone? It's like,
well, what does it look
They've
like when
moved
they're
out.
still there?
that's what I mean. Like, yeah, you're just stuck.
And miserable.
I know.
And they see that.
And they know.
Yeah.
They know. So giving permission about those things. And then the last part, which is kind of my part of it, is talking about, you know, where does those feelings live in your body and what is your new identity? Because everything that you have built is upside down. And how do you find yourself again? And so we really wanted it to be very focused on what is it that we actually want to hear. And we'll have time to break out and talk to people. We'll have a wonderful lunch. So we would be looking for sponsors for those kinds of things and speakers, because we don't want to have the same 3 speakers all the time. And so we'll have lots of information on that on the website and the links. The first one is August 16th.
Oh, okay.
So we wanted people to have like a nice summer, get the kids back into school. Now let's think about what we might need to do.
Perfect. I think that'll be really helpful.
Yeah, a good resource.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate saying that. It almost feels like I'm like promoting like the divorce, but no, it's like, this is needed hole in the community, you know?
Yeah. And I hate that we have to say that. Right. Like, I'm not promoting divorce.
Right.
I'm supporting you through a thing that happens in our society.
Right.
Right. To a lot of people.
I mean, let's look at the statistics.
Right. You're not just pulling this out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I mean, even like we're at an age now where I feel like it's like we see it in like our circle of friends and, you know.
Yeah. I think that's a big need that needs filled. So,
and I think people, women specifically, need permission to not live in a life that they didn't sign up for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you, if people come to you considering divorce, do you recommend couples therapy first, or is it just kind of case by case?
It is really case by case. I think there's a lot of phases about how we decide something. So there's pre-contemplation phase where it's like, I mean, we're miserable, but we don't need a divorce. We don't need to talk about it.
It's comfortable.
It's fine.
Yeah.
People will say it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm miserable, but it's fine. Contemplation stage is where it's like, yes, but like, I recognize that I don't really want to be here, but I do it for the kids. I do it, blah, blah, blah. And then there's preparation phase. And that is, what would this even look like? We gather lots of information. If people are in that phase, I think it's really important to go to couples counseling.
Okay.
Because you can have some really more honest conversations. Maybe you find out that couples counseling, when you meet with me, is about identifying the cycle that the two of you have. And then we can put any topic into that cycle. And then we have lots of ways to tweak the cycle, as opposed to like, we just don't get along.
Yeah.
So how did you come to decide that? What are some things what are some rules that you have that maybe he doesn't know? He's constantly breaking them, and then you feel like you're not loved. Can we talk about those? And so couples counseling can be very helpful and turn things around.
Do you find it's hard to get both people?
You're literally
to agree to
taking
that?
every question that's in my head.
No, I don't find it. What I find is
or
that
if one doesn't want to come, is that like a sign?
Yeah,
to,
like that's it.
They've given up.
People are afraid.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times people will be like, well, she's going to take your side, or you're going to bring this up, and I'm going to have a lot of shame about it. And so it's like, we therapists are not judges.
Is that hard?
To not judge?
Yeah.
No.
To separate like the two things in your head.
It really is not, because what I've loved about being a therapist for, almost 20 years now is that I actually get to see all the different ways that people manage conflict and compromise and make things work. And I have learned so much from everybody.
Do you think that helps you?
Oh my gosh, without a doubt.
That's awesome.
Because a lot of times we have black or white. It's this or that.
Yeah.
My house is a mess. Her house is not a mess. I'm bad. She's good. And when I come and hear people like all the secret ways that we negotiate in between each other, I have like all the options then. Yeah. And that's one of my favorite things to do then when couples will come in and I'm like, okay, we either stay together or we get divorced. I'm like, okay, those are 2 options we're going to put on the whiteboard. Now let's put up all the other options, and we'll go through the options and we'll mark off the ones that are least intolerable. And then we'll see if the other ones can be a solution. If none of those solutions can be, then we start transitioning into how do we care for each other even if we're not married anymore, especially if there's children.
Yeah. Yeah,
Do
like
you find
co-parenting.
Do you find that a lot of people that come in for couples counseling then end up staying together or not?
It just depends.
It just depends.
Yeah.
I hate that. I want to give statistics. Everybody wants like,
Yeah.
oh, will it work?
Yeah.
But what I always say is that like there's 100% chance that it will work for you. I don't know what work means.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
It's going to
the
be
cost-
beneficial in some way.
The cost of not doing it is greater
Yes.
than the chance
Yeah.
that you take on doing it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay, we had talked about earlier because we met at a women's event.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? A month ago? A couple months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple
Ish.
months ago.
And you spoke at it, and we really liked that, so that's why we're here. But we were talking about how we get anxious before stuff like that, and you said you might have some tips or tricks for some of us that get like that. Oh no, I'm making you like squirm in your seat.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I've been doing things like this since before I could remember, right? My father was a preacher. My mom, they met in seminary school. So I was always on stage. That's what I called it in my head. Giving a prayer, being part of the youth service or singing, whatever. So, my body knows that I've been doing this forever. Mm-hmm. But in a couple days before, like, I'll be like, oh my God, that'll be so fun to be on the podcast. And I'm like, yes, they picked me for the podcast. And then yesterday I started being like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to be on that podcast. And then I'm just like nervous and all these things. And I have to identify like, what am I telling myself, which is the hardest part. So the hardest part for me is identifying that I still have these rules in my head. If you say something that's not correct, then people will think you're stupid. You have to practice, Holly, so that you feel like people will think you're a professional. It might be too much exposure, and then people won't like you, and then it will ruin the business, right? Like,
right.
And you're laughing, right? Because those things are not true.
Right.
But they are my truths.
Right.
They're my rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so this morning, like usually my MO is to just fight those in my head. And then I know that once I get started talking, those will go away and it'll be fine.
Right.
That's what it has been, where I just try to manage those internally. But this morning my husband was home and I was like, okay, I need you to play this little game with me, right? I'm always like, let's play a game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here's all the things that I am telling myself. And he said back to me, he was like, you are a professional because of who you are. He said, people like you because you're engaging and captivating, so you don't have to be professional. He's like, also, you are a professional.
Yes.
And I'm like, I love you.
And for anyone that disagrees, like those aren't your people.
And that's what he said too.
Like,
Not for you.
that's what we tell
And we're not for
ourselves
everybody,
anyways.
and
we're
that's
not for
okay.
everybody.
We're not going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was such a great thing for me to do for myself this morning because,
Like a little workshop.
yeah. And that's what therapy is about.
I think it's good to hear that from you as a therapist, that
Yeah.
you still have to do these things to get yourself where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a constant process. It's not just a one and done and you're cured forever. You know what I mean? It's a lifelong situation.
Yeah. And so today I give myself permission. What normally happens in the past is I'll spend the next day and a half critiquing what I said.
Yeah.
And saying like, oh, I should have said it like this, or what if I'd said this, or that was dumb, you could have phrased it like that. And my husband's like, okay, when you go to see people, like, do you think about them for days after? And I was like, no. And he's like, right. And I was like, oh, I hate you.
Is he a therapist?
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Should he
he's
be in
been
this
married
line
to a
award?
Yes.
therapist for a long time, so he knows what to say back.
He's trained.
Yeah. Well, he is a good learner, I would say. But I can't do those things for myself all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's taken years to identify those rules and where those rules came from, and do I want to keep those rules?
Mm-hmm.
And I can make that decision, but I have to keep making that decision. Just like we keep making the decisions about being the one that is responsible for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Or okay, well, I'll just stay for the kids. Like, you make that decision every single day.
Right.
And so new coping skills are something that you have to repeat as well. One thing that I do want to make sure that I say is that our approach to therapy is not what's the problem. Because we want to talk about the problems. We talk about the problems with our friends, over wine. Like, that's what we do. But therapy at JRNY Counseling is talking about, tell me what your current solutions to this problem are.
And how those can be tweaked.
How did we get there?
Yeah.
What's worked? I know you've worked so hard before you showed up to me. I know it's not like you're out here and tried nothing.
Right.
And I'm going to be like, well, have you tried this? Be all condescending.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, how did this become the solution? And what does that solution cost you? Are you interested in looking at other solutions? And that changes the conversation.
I do think people need to hear that because, we get so in our heads of what only we think is how it goes. And it's like, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah. And you can't change it by yourself.
Right. You need someone to pull that out of you.
So like you just said, you had to like tell yourself like, I can change the rules. I feel like a lot of people can say that, but then would you say you have to practice to actually make your mind be able to do that?
Oh, absolutely. So a lot of it, I just talked about like the intellectual part of the rules. Then I have to think about like that, the reason why those rules are in place are from a variety of times where I wasn't perfect and I got in trouble. Or like a cultural rule that I have about myself as like I have to show up in a super perfect way because I'm a woman. Those things live in my body. And they're the worry and the hurt, and it shows up in my stomach and it's in my chest, the constriction. And so I also have to learn ways to nurture my reaction to those thoughts and say, hey, it's not fight or flight. We're okay. We're not who we were when those rules were made.
Yeah.
And so that's like the emotional work that you have to make space for, and like therapy will help you do that. As opposed to just kind of like, okay, well, I didn't do the dishes tonight, and so I changed the rule.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You're going to do the dishes in the morning.
Yeah.
Because you haven't addressed the resentment and the loneliness, and it's going to irritate you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that question. Thank you so much.
Yeah. We just had an interesting conversation with someone before this, and it came up, we were talking about how, I don't know if it's just like society, but like men in general seem to feel like less sharing their emotions, and maybe it's just because that's how they were raised. Do you find that a lot, or do you find that a lot of your patients are more women versus men?
Yeah, I'd say that it's heavily leaned for women. And I mean, there's a lot of things that play into that. I mean, it is what it is. We have male counselors to try to kind of navigate that.
Yeah. If they, like if a male wants to go see a male, then that's available. Yeah.
But it is a thing because we have masculinity, and we talk about what masculinity looks like, and we define that, and they learn that from a very early age, just like we learn our rules about femininity. And it's very difficult to change all those rules.
Do you think it is changing, like in 2025, like gender roles and things like that?
I mean, I think that there's gender roles are becoming a little bit more equal, but I don't think that our expectations of gender is changing.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. I know we were talking a lot about how we see on social media kind of a more acceptance to talk about therapy or your struggles, and how that's like maybe breaking the stigma a little bit more too for a lot of people. Do you notice that? Yeah,
I love that about like the next generations, because my mom would never have gone. Absolutely not.
We talk about that a lot, like how generations, I think that's where the stigma kind of started, and this generation or these newer generations are kind of realizing like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. And we have resources now available to us that previous generations did not.
That's a good point.
And so my generation, like us, we're like, okay, if we go though, do we have to tell everybody? Like, no.
Right.
you can go and it can just
Yeah,
be
there was
like your
something-
secret.
There was something good on your social media I saw where one of the therapists was like, if you see me in public, I can act like I don't know you. You can come up and give me a hug.
That's right.
It's just all on you. And
Yeah.
I do
That's exactly
whatever
right.
you want.
That's exactly right. And so I feel like our generation likes that. We like
The option.
we like the option, but we also just want to kind of like do it on the side.
Yeah.
But the next generation, right, millennials and then my kids' age, they have shirts that, like, we have merch shirts that says "Make your therapist proud," and they wear that to school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love you guys. But that was because of the work that we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it normalizes it for them, and then it will be normal in like maybe 50, 60 years from now. I always think about this. I know. I always think about this. Like when we think about where mental health started, as long as I can remember, was like insane asylums, shock treatment.
Yeah.
Women can be sent away solely because her husband says she has hysteria, right? So that's where we started from when I can remember. And we're here now. What I want to happen in 100 years is for them to look back at us and be like, God, that was horrible. That was
same
so
as how we
cruel.
saw it when it
because
started.
I want it to be so much better.
Yeah,
and
that's
that's really the goal.
Yeah. I love that.
Well, I think we see it too in, like, it used to be like when, like, working and owning your own business, like this hustle culture, like you sleep 4 hours a night and you're just grinding and you have to do that. Yeah. But I already think we see that broken. Like, oh, my biggest flex is I sleep 8 hours a night and I cook meals at home and I set those boundaries of like, this is office time, this is home time. And so I'm wondering too if that will start being like another flex. Like I talk to a therapist monthly or weekly and that's just part of the overall health.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're hoping for.
She's like, that is the goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can people buy your merch?
If I get it up on the website fast enough. We have
Coming
fun
soon.
stuff.
Coming soon.
I mean, I have them all delivered,
everyone
but I
loves
just have to
merch.
put them on the link.
Yeah. I love that.
They're so fun. Our art therapist came up with them. I'm like, you're so fun.
Oh, I love that. Wait, can you talk
My
to us
favorite
about
one-
that? Art therapist?
Sure. My favorite shirt though just says "Boundaries, babe" with a
Yes.
period. And I wear it all the time, but it's a
Wait, we need
sweatshirt.
that.
We do need that.
And then it's got our logo on the back. Because I was like, when we're talking about small businesses and being a woman in small business, I'm like, okay, this is a serious matter, and I want people to take us seriously. And we are a dominant force in the mental health field. But also, like, why can't we have fun shirts?
Yeah.
Like, I just buy 5 of those and wear them to work every day.
Yeah,
and then
for
be
sure.
done with it.
But it's so
And then
true.
people will ask you about them. Like,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
because
isn't
that's
this
going to
fun?
catch someone's eye more than just your logo. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely.
oh, wait.
Absolutely. So, I think in the beginning we had lots of different flavors of therapists, is what I like to call them. And Eliza Jarrett, who does Doodle Bug Counseling, and she's in Carmel, she used to be with us, and she is a phenomenal therapist. She does art therapy.
Okay.
And it's just amazing. Sometimes talk therapy is not going to help us understand. We need other ways to express it. Or, and she will do a much better job of explaining art therapy than I will. So forgive me, Eliza, if I butcher this. But sometimes, like, talking to someone just like this is so intimidating. But if we're doing something together, I can talk.
Yeah.
And then she knows all about how the way you colored or how it changes when you meet with her. She knows all about that.
That's so cool.
And so I just love those things when not all modalities of therapy are what you need.
Yeah.
It's not a cookie cutter.
Yeah, it's great to have those options for people too. And maybe like kids where it's like
Without
hard for them to even communicate what they're feeling if they could, you know?
I will tell a story about that. There's a play therapist, and there are play therapists all around in private practice. And I love this story. It just sticks with me forever. The parents brought the little 6-year-old. They were going through a divorce. He was, of course, I don't want to say of course. They brought him in because he had become increasingly angry. And so they knew that the divorce was bothering him, but he's 6. And so he comes to play therapy, and there's a dollhouse, And there's not talk. Play therapy is like you play with them on the floor.
Okay. Like one-on-one.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's child directed. So you just play with them. But there's always patterns in play because that's how children learn and have a language at first. And so he had the parents in the kitchen and he was upstairs under a bed. And then he was on the next time he came in, he processed this, and he was on the staircase of the house. And then one time he came in and put the dad in the sandbox and was just in the kitchen with his mom. And then the next time he was and dad like playing this little Range Rover game over here. And eventually what happened is mom and dad had their own house, and he would spend the session sometimes playing with mom and then the rest of the time playing with dad. That is the healing work of play therapy. And we didn't say a thing.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And so just the different modalities are amazing.
Yeah, I love that there's a variety of options for people. Love it.
Okay, I feel like a lot of people can relate to this because school is almost out.
Oh, God.
And I know it affects all parents, whether you're full-time, part-time working, stay-at-home mom. It's just going to look different all summer with the kids being home.
That's right.
And we were wondering if you had any advice or tips for everyone trying to get work done, but also keep the kids entertained, and kind of what that looks like for the summer.
So again, with the chief engagement officer, we need to see it as a new quarter. We need new strategies. It's not just the same old, Right. And I just want to point out, like, all of the year is like that. Like fall, getting ready for summer and getting people back, or school, and getting people back into the school's schedule, and going to bed at the right time. And then homework, and then fall break is a different quarter. I mean, we have different quarters.
Yes.
And so just recognizing.
December.
Yeah, I know.
That we're currently in.
Oh my God.
We were just talking about that. We're like, why is this mental health awareness month? We need a different month.
I know, the good wrench she talked about on hers.
Did you
I
see
was
her?
like, absolutely, girl.
That reel.
It was
Jesse. That was the best with the dog and the robe.
I loved it.
We're going to have to repost that because holy moly.
Please do. And I think the other thing that people remember is like when they're in like 5th grade and they're graduating now, or you have a senior that's graduating, there's so much emotional, I don't know, it's so emotional because everything in the senior year is like, oh, this is their last fall.
Yeah.
This is their last Christmas break. This is make this poster about their life in high school. And it's like, oh my God, you guys, please. It's too much.
Yeah.
So please, chief engagement officers, please remind yourself that you are in a different quarter, so you need a different strategy. We do not have to fully engage the kids like they would be at school. Kids are allowed to be bored.
Yes. That is my key to my kids.
And
they're always like, I'm bored. What can I do? I said, I'm so glad that you're bored. I am so glad that you're bored. Figure it out.
That's the part, right?
Yeah.
Figure it out. I have a house full of things that are just for you. Figure it out.
Figure it out.
And then actually let yourself let go of that guilt.
I think that is a big thing with me. I feel like I hold a lot of guilt of I should be doing more. And it's like, when does that end? Because you can't do it all, you know?
Well, in therapy, I would say that ends when you decide it ends.
Right. The rules. When you redefine your rules.
Yeah. Where did they come from? What do you want now? How will that benefit you? And how can you actually help yourself believe that?
Yeah.
So all those things are deep, but on the surface, we wanted to put together a summer survival to, what is it called?
Maybe Parent Summer Survival Guide?
Maybe. I like how she says maybe. She's like gentle parenting you right now. Maybe it's this.
I love that so much. That's my favorite. So we put it together, and because we're decision fatigued, I don't want you to have to like look for stuff. Like, here's some fun things that you probably don't know about. Maybe you know about some, but then you can hand it to the kids and be like, you pick. Okay,
Yeah.
like these are the
put it back
options
in their corner.
You tell me what
Yeah.
you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being like the CEO of it.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to remind people, which I have to remind myself, is that I'll plan a day. I think it's going to be magical. I think,
We've all been
and
there.
everybody hates it. And I'm like dragging them through it. And then
Yes.
I'm mad at them.
Yes.
And then I'm like, I don't ever want to do anything with you again.
I know.
Like, you ruined this whole
You're
thing.
very relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been there.
Yes.
It's hot. They're hungry. This is
Yeah.
boring. I want to go home.
like,
You're like, forget it.
I'm like, I'm not. And then 2 days next, I'll be like, oh, we haven't done anything. They're bored. I need to entertain them. So when I put it back on the kids to pick the activity, I am not responsible then if it doesn't go well.
You
Yeah,
chose
like,
this.
oh, we picked this and we hated it. We'll never do it again.
Yeah.
As
I
opposed to
like
like, Mom, this sucked.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
I agree.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel guilty for this, but also it's turned out well for me lately, but I still have like a little bit of guilt. Is like, I'm like, forget you guys. We're going to go do things I want to do.
Absolutely.
And it's like, my favorite day, we were here for spring break, and my favorite day, I was like, get your scooters, got the stroller, we're going to go walk 3 miles on the Nickel Plate Trail, we're going to stop and get a drink halfway, and then we're going to go and we're going to get berry bagels, and we're going to sit outside, and we're going to have a picnic, you guys can go on the swings, and everybody loved it, but also I'm like, was that right? Just to do what I wanted to do?
No.
Well-
Hey, I was with her kids yesterday, and they mentioned that specific day and how
that's
they had a
true.
picnic. So clearly it worked.
I mean, it doesn't always turn out like that, but I'm like, I don't want to go to the library and hear someone read you a story and sing every single day. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also you feel a little guilty, like, should I be doing that?
Okay. But don't you want your children to know who you are?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, like I don't know who my mother was. I knew how she raised me.
Yeah.
But I had no idea what her life was like. I could tell you a few things that she liked, but I can't tell you that I knew her.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take kids on things that you like to do, then they get to step into your world.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
And it's nice. The funniest thing that's happened is my youngest, who's about to be 12 now, when he was in kindergarten, they did like this poster. It's like, what does your dad do? And what does your mom like the best? And, you know, those, and there's
Yeah,
like a big
they
star
fill
and
it in.
hanging it
Yeah.
up, and it's so exciting. They were like, what does your mom do for a living? And he goes, she reads people's minds. I was like, okay,
So funny.
I'm not going to correct you because I need that in my back pocket.
Yes.
But you need to know who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want you to know what I like to do. I want to sing in the car with you. I want you to come to my favorite restaurant with me because
Yeah.
we live in the house together.
Yeah.
I
And
love
sometimes
that.
it's like hard or takes longer. Like I took all the kids to a Pacer playoff game a few weeks ago. So like I wanted to go do that.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite thing. And
Yeah.
it took longer. We had to leave earlier. We had to make dinner arrangements at the stadium, whatever. But like I enjoyed it still, and I know
Absolutely.
they did.
That's how I was with the boys. Like I took them to their first like real concert last
So
year,
fun.
and it was like, oh, I shouldn't do this because it starts at 8. You know what I mean? But it's like whatever. We stayed up later. They're fine. You know, we did leave a little early. That's also okay. But like they loved
Yeah.
it and they remember it still. And it's like things like that. It's like I think we need to start like involving our kids in stuff that we personally like to do and not attach the guilt to that.
I agree.
Yeah. Even
Because
the
it-
grocery store, they're like they like to do that now because I'll let them like each pick a snack or a drink. But I'm like, that's also like a lesson. Like you need
Yep.
to know how to do this.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
the food
Or
just
how to
doesn't
act at,
the
like,
food's
dinner.
not
Yes.
appearing every day on the counter. Like we have to go get it
Yes.
and bring it home
Or
and make
I-
a list
yes.
and plan,
Yes.
and that's part of life.
I have a friend that's like,
that's
my
right.
kids, we don't go out to dinner because they're horribly behaved. And like, I'm not a therapist or whatever, but my only advice is like, I think you just have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And eventually,
Yeah, practice.
like, it might be
Yeah.
hard at first, but if that's something you truly want to be able to do, you know, then
You have to start
Absolutely.
you got to
somewhere.
start somewhere.
Just like
Absolutely.
therapy. You got to start if you want to get better, right?
That's right.
So people can go on your website, or if you have a link, we can post it too, to get the summer survival guide to help them out a little
yeah,
bit.
there'll be a link on the
Okay.
website, and we can share that out too.
Okay, cool. Thank
Anything
you so
else?
much for being here. Yeah, do you have anything else you want to add? Are you good? Oh, uh-oh. She's like, I'm going to think of stuff on the way home.
Yeah.
We all will.
Yeah, we do that every time.
But really, Holly, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, I had so much fun today.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We'll post your social media, your website, so everyone can find you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is so helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to come back anytime.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
we love it. For a different season.
Yeah.
Yeah, quarter.
The next
Different
quarter.
Yes.
I use that now because I'm like all about the basketball stuff going on. So I'm like, ooh, it's a new quarter.
Yes.
What's the new strategy?
Yeah, seriously. A new play for each quarter.
Uh-huh.
I love that. Well, thank
Yeah.
you again. We really
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Yes. See you next Tuesday.
Bye.